take ample care of even our bodies, let alone our minds. Why I chose breath? Because breath is something which is nourishing the body as well as the mind. In fact, I would like to take you to yoga physiology, like how the yoga physiology looks at the body. So in yoga, the body is not just this gross body that you see. There are actually 5 bodies, and each subtler than this body, which we see, which we can access, and which we feed with food. So we know that we eat good food, we'll have a good body. But we do not know that, there are other bodies which are being nourished by other subtler essences like the breath itself. So let me quickly tell you about these 5 bodies. And then, of course, we'll come to the breath, which is also nourishing one of the bodies called the bioplasmic body. But to begin with the beginning, this gross body that you see is nourished by the food. Then there is a subtler body, which is your mental body, the body that is made up of your thoughts. And your thoughts make up a they are subtler than your body, and your thoughts can influence your body. This is happening vice versa also, but because the mind is subtler than the grosser body, it has more power to it. So people who have good mind can actually control and nourish their body with their thoughts themselves. So in any case, it's a deeper subject, and I'm just touching quickly to come to the breath. So I apologize that I'll be rushing through, but wish to give you a quick link. So the third kind of, or the further subtle aspect of the body is this bioplasmic body, the vital energy body, and this is the breath body. This is the body to which the breath is nourishing. Like, breath becomes the vehicle to nourish that bioplasmic or vital energy body. Or in yoga, we call it pranic body, the prana. And then, further, more subtle than this pranic body, this vital, your energy body, is your, what we say, psychic, or you may also say higher mental body, like, a mind which is beyond the mind. And psychic, I'm sure all of you understand, it's almost like an intuitive aspect of your being, which is much higher than your mind also. So this is the fourth kind of, aspect of your own being. And then further, deeper and most subtle is what is called the transcendental body. And if you don't want to use spiritual terms, then it is the bliss body. It is the most balanced body at all levels. So that, it is also called the body of joy. So if we could connect to that, then we are the most balanced, and vice versa. If we are very, very balanced in all these bodies, we are in that state of bliss, or we are always connected to our bliss body. So this is like quickly taking you through the how yoga looks at the bodies, and now how we can have access to, each of these bodies and take control of these, or at least, connect with them through something. You can connect with your gross body with the breath also, but you're connecting with it with your food, you're using good food. But remember that the breath is the best food even for the body. And scientifically we know that, it is the breath which is breaking down all the oxygen and changing it into energy, which is being supplied then to all your systems, like your muscular system, your brain, your circulatory system. We know that. But I'm talking now, taking basically the yogic dimension into our talk today. So I'll be mostly talking about the yogic perspective. So what are the tools which yoga gives us to connect with these various bodies and bring them to balance? And although I'm talking that, the gross body is the first step into our own self, into knowing ourselves, we begin by knowing this gross body. Like, I'm fat, I'm thin, I have lack of iron, I have some blood pressure problems. So first we observe, this becomes our first step into knowing ourselves, but this is extremely like superficial. Then we go further down into our mind. Then the next thing that we access is our mind, and we access our mind through our thoughts. We feel that, okay, I have such and such thoughts. Oh, these are bad thoughts. Oh, these are good thoughts. Oh, today I'm happy because I all the time I had these nice thoughts. So this is then our access to the mind. This much we can access. Although even, a yogi would say, you are still very, very superficial, because your mind, your conscious mind is not all. There are other layers of mind which even Western psychology has recognized, and these are your subconscious and your unconscious. But the yoga psychology recognizes further deeper layers of mind, into which I'm not going. But looking at even the Western psychology, we do not have access to our subconscious and unconscious mind also. So yoga gives you tools to know yourself, and knowledge is empowerment. Once you know that, this is what is my stuff, then you can work with that stuff. If you know that this is the thought that troubles me, then you know that there is a witness that you can create, and you can take a leap over your own mind. So then mental body means you are taking slowly awareness of what is your stuff, what is your mental stuff, most of which, like, we are not aware, because we don't know where this thought is coming, where that idea is coming. So we are mostly working, like hitting arrows into darkness, because we don't know our own power, our own mental power, our own thoughts, our own storehouse that is there to support us. Unfortunately, we don't know. But good news is that, yoga is giving us tools. And the most easy tool is the breath. Because as we breathe, as we become aware of the sheer breath, it automatically becomes balanced. So that's the good news. Although breath is an unconscious thing, involuntarily happening since your birth, as soon as you're out of the womb until your death, you're back to the grave. This is with us. This is actually our most constant companion and most true companion, nourishing us. Is life. It is life. But it is happening involuntarily. In yoga, the whole idea is to take cognizance of this greatest tool, which is the source of life itself. So yogis, they aspire to create awareness, like a 24-hour awareness of the breath. So for example, I'm looking at time also, because I have only 10 minutes to talk, and I want to give you an experience of a little practice also. So sorry for this quick kind of, pouring out. So yeah, breath awareness. By sheer awareness, the breath starts helping us. It starts going into various systems. It starts feeding into not only the gross body by making your respiration very good, supplying energy to every part of your body, every cell of your body, loosening all the knots, not only in the physical, but also in the mental blockages. It is nourishing this, then it is nourishing the psychic body, then it is nourishing your higher mind and the bliss body. It can take you deeper and deeper and deeper, and what we have to do is just become aware of this. Now we will see in the practice how, quickly it can relax our mind. But I'm sure most of you, because I see many Indian names also here, and Praveen is also there. Namaste, Praveen. So when most of you might know, because you are in traveling, that there is there are psychic energy centers located in our body. They do not have any physical counterpart, but the chakras are there. These are the psychic whirlpools. And what happens when our breath becomes deep and long? Every psychic center is getting the nourishment and is getting stimulated. So from down under, from the root chakra, the Mooladhara, up to this crown center, this is the whole span of our consciousness. So if we can, if we can just breathe in and out along with the awareness of that psychic channel, we will see slowly how things are opening out for us. Now, this is like, going very deep and accessing our intuitive powers and even gaining some yogic siddhis and spiritual powers, the famous spiritual powers. And let me tell you, they are accessible. But then becoming a little bit, touching something very tangible, our own mind now when we are like, the whole world has become, has stopped in a way. And we human beings who are in Indian spirituality called Chara. Chara means the one who moves. The very meaning of the word Atma, which we are, is the one that moves. Atati iti Atma, the one who is in the movement. And we are unlike trees who are called Achara. So we are the Charas and we are made to become Acharas, like immobile. So our whole spirit is kind of, undergoing a huge shock. And how to deal with this shock, and how, like, to perhaps patiently wait for this too shall pass. How do we do that? So the only thing is, perhaps what like even I am undergoing, lots of these thoughts that when will this change? So how are we dealing with it, or how can we deal with it? I would say that, we can deal with it by creating balance in ourselves. Now, what is that balance? Physically, we should find some kind of, exercise or yoga or something. So we should hit the body. Then mentally, we should do something for our mind. And as we are going to do something by sheer breath, breathing awareness. It's extremely simple practice I'll be giving you today to take care of the mind, to bring the mind into the balance. What is the meaning of bringing the mind into the balance? Bringing the mind into balance is that, our brain is being supplied with ample energy so that the breathing is not shallow, and our mental patterns are regular. They are not arrhythmic. So thoughts are not just rushing through and like that. So you have some kind of, witness that this thought is coming, and okay, I take a leap over it. I can't do anything about it. I am feeling feverish. I'm not able to do, but let me breathe so that I can nourish my brain, the circles of the energy which are inside me, by just breathing. So maybe shall we take the practice right now, because the time is passing, and we can take up question answers later. You will yourself see, how the breath just unleashes lots of vitality in you, lots of joy in you. So maybe you should experience rather than listening to sheer simple words. So I would request you, yeah, we will have a very short practice just to give you a glimpse and an idea and a tiny bit experience. For that, I would request you to come into any comfortable position, posture, asana. You are sitting on chairs or perhaps on a couch. Make sure that you are comfortable. This is the first thing. If you need cushions around you, use cushions. Main thing is comfort. And then the second main thing is that your spine and your head are straight. Straight but relaxed. So come into please such a position. If you need a moment, I give you that moment. Take a moment or two to come into your chosen position. And then you can use a mudra, like, you can use your forefinger, place it either at the root of the thumb or at the tip of the thumb, and place it on your knees or in your lap, so that your hands also find a balanced kind of, a state. So now getting into this position, our body is totally relaxed. Our head and spine are in one straight line. When you have come into this chosen pose, then slowly become completely still in the body. Create the stillness of a statue into your own body and gently close your eyes. Now you are still, you are relaxed, and your eyes are closed. From here, become aware of your breath. That's the only movement which is happening in your body. Your breath is going in and going out of your system. Become fully aware of your breath. You are aware of your ingoing and outgoing breath, gently watching it. As you watch your breath, it becomes deeper and longer. Watch the breath becoming deep and long. But let it be natural, without any strain. You are breathing in deep and long. Watch the length of the breath. Feel how long it is inside and how far it goes outside of your body. Going out through your nostrils, going in through your nostrils. And also see the temperature of the breath now. At the nostrils, when you inhale, the breath is cool. When you exhale, the breath is warm. Full awareness of the temperature of the breath, the length of the breath. And now add another dimension of awareness, that of the weight of the breath. Feel how light or heavy the breath is, for instance. You are fully aware of each and every dimension of your breath. The temperature at the nostrils, going in warm, cool, going out warm. The length of the breath, it goes right up to your heart center and maybe further down. The outgoing breath, it goes out. Just feel how far it goes. And now become aware of the breath in the throat area, the area where your voice box is, vocal cords are. Your eyes are closed, you are relaxed, you're fully aware of your breath, and you are totally focusing on your breath. Now the breath at the throat center. You are experiencing it. Just feel it moving through these tiny voice box and going down, going in and out through this throat center. And now visualize a channel like a tube running from your navel to your throat, like a golden channel. As you inhale, feel the breath rising from navel to the throat. As you exhale, feel it going down from the throat to the navel. Full awareness of this golden channel. When you inhale, the breath moves from navel to the
Let's continue going from the navel chakra to up to the throat chakra. Breathing in, moving it up, and then exhaling down to the navel chakra. Sorry, we can't hear Alka.
I'm sure you can hear me now.
Yes.
So please keep to the breath awareness. Keep your eyes closed. Get back to where we were. Inhaling, navel to the throat. Exhaling, throat to the navel. And now we will add the sound. First, you try to listen to the sound yourself. What is the natural sound of the breath? As you inhale, the breath goes up from the navel to the throat. Feel if you hear the sound of so. As you exhale, the breath goes from throat to the navel. Feel, become alert if you can hear the sound of hum. As you inhale, there is a natural sound of so rising from the navel to the throat. As you exhale, there is a natural sound of hum going down from the throat to the navel. Full awareness of this sound of breath, the natural sound of breath. So, navel to the throat through a golden channel, the psychic channel, which is opening your energy centers. Hum from the throat to the navel. Keep to this awareness of so hum, as if you're mentally repeating it, as if you're mentally hearing it. Actually, this is the natural sound of the breath. So hum. So on inhalation, hum on exhalation. Let the breath become longer and longer and deeper and deeper. With so, hum. And keep to the awareness of this golden channel which is running from your navel to your throat, and your breath is moving up and down through this channel. So hum. Slowly now let go of this awareness and bring your awareness to the eyebrow center, the point between the two eyebrows, and visualize a brightly burning flame like a candle flame at this point. Full awareness of this point of light at the eyebrow center, as if now you're breathing in and out of this flame. Keep the awareness of Soham and the flame. And now let go of the awareness of Soham and become aware of just the flame at the eyebrow center. We will be tuning out of this practice with Om chanting together. So, keeping the awareness on this flame of this, on this point of light at the eyebrow center, inhale to chant mantra Om 3 times all together. Please inhale now. Om. 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 All together. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Slowly bring your palms together, rub them when they're warm. Keep them on your eyes and gently open your eyes. If you like, you may do the palming 3 times or as many times as you wish, and slowly opening the eyes. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer.
Thank you so much, Alka. That was really beautiful, wonderful. And we'll wait. I think Brunilda will, how do you say, bring up the questions that she has received.
I can see them. I'll be able to see them.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I thought.
No, it's okay. Don't worry. Actually, right now I don't have any, believe it or not.
Okay.
But I'm sure somebody has some questions. But actually, Brunilda has a little poll for us, or shall I say, we're doing a little bit of a question, and we want to find out from you, how familiar would you say you are with India? Are you very familiar? Love the destination? Somewhat familiar? Not familiar at all? Here to learn more. So if you don't mind answering this for us, the clients especially, we'd love to know. So take a minute. I hate to interrupt the Zen feeling, but.
Maybe you might have some questions coming up because people might just be coming out of the practice as well. So.
Yes.
Maybe
it's wonderful to see you all.
Questions themselves, like raising the hand or something, and
yeah, you can. Yes, please. If anybody has a question, if you. Otherwise, I have some questions for sure. So, Will, do you have a question?
I don't have any questions, but that was great.
Oh, it was lovely. It really was lovely. And I mean, there's so many questions. I wanted to find out, I'm selfish, but I wanted to find out how, Alka, you got into this whole yoga world, how this happened.
Thank you, Sari, for your question. I hope it benefits the others. But it was like, my school teacher took me into the yoga team because I was very thin, and then I kept at it in my teenage. I wanted to look thin. It was very gross, but slowly the practices themselves led to deeper experience, and I hit upon Bihar School of Yoga. That's when my serious practice began. That was more than 20 years ago. I think, yeah, once we get into that, it takes hold of you, and then, the destiny moves you. So, yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
No, no. I mean, going to India the first time, definitely. I always had a like for yoga, but when I went to India and I experienced Ananda, I mean, I felt the power that it has and the internal awareness that it creates. And it's great for the body and the mind and the soul. So I just love it. So, and I think anybody who's at all intrigued by this, I think, I think we all do an amazing job of practicing in the US, and I love it. I have a teacher who I adore, but I think when you go to India, this is the birthplace of India, and this is where it all started. And I think you can just do a much deeper experience. And I would love to take you all with me to India and how you.
I think that sounds like a good plan for 2021.
I'd love to go.
I think we're going
As
to need
soon as
it.
it opens, Sari.
Okay, who's that talking?
Helena.
Helena, okay.
Okay,
I'm
Alka,
taking notes here.
Immediate.
Sure, you've been there, no?
Alka, I have a question. I just want to, ask you. Would you suggest certain timings of the day how do you say, go through these practices? Or I mean, like, let's say if you should do empty stomach, early morning, or whatever. I mean, I just kind of just thought it'll be good for people to know to continue the practice.
Thank you, Mohan Bhai. Yeah, it is a very useful question. See, that's why I took this most simple tool, which is most subtle as well. Because when we do asanas, of course, we should do them empty stomach, and we should choose a certain time when we are empty stomach. Because these days we don't put restrictions that you should do it right in the morning. Whenever you find time and are empty stomach, do your asanas. Asanas are very important. But this particular practice, so hum and moving along your spine, whenever your awareness goes to your breath, it is really good, because quickly the breath will become deep and long. When the breath has become deeper and rhythmic, your brain patterns become and your thought patterns become rhythmic. You start seeing yourself. And as Sari said, like, awareness is everything. Knowledge of the self is everything. When we know, we can control. That is for this particular practice. But if anybody is interested in other tools, I'll be so happy to share. And this practice is called Ajapa Japa. And if you go on Bihar School of Yoga site, it's freely available. And I'll write to Mohan Bhai. This practice is available in proper half-an-hour practice of Ajapa Japa in our present spiritual master, Swami Niranjananand's voice. It is available. Whenever you are feeling very bogged down, very stressed, find a little time, sit in a sacred space that you have marked for yourself, and do this practice. It is amazing. But you can do it anytime also, if you don't want to do it at, yeah.
Yeah, one of
Okay.
my experiences is that we are looking a lot at screens, electronic screens these days, whether it's our mobile phones or laptops or computer screens, and I think that's a time when we tend to not breathe properly. So I think whenever you're looking at screens for longer durations, I think if that awareness can come in us that yes, we need to breathe properly, I think that'll be a good time to choose as well, amongst other times of the day or the evening. Yeah.
Actually, Alka, I do have a question from a friend of mine, Susan, actually. In other breath practices, she said she's been taught that the exhale should be longer than the inhale. We didn't do that today, but we wanted to find out your thoughts on that. I'm interested too.
Yes, when we do a yoga session, then, pranayam is control of not control, actually expanding the prana. Like, so we do that through control over the breath. And why we press upon exhalation being more? Because you are throwing all the toxins out of your system through the exhalation. So during those pranayama practices, the breathing practices, we try to attain a ratio in which, say, for instance, 1:2 ratio. But higher yogis would even do, 1:4 ratio, for instance. That's not recommended to the beginners. But exhalation being longer is as simple as throwing all the toxins out of your system. But that is attained, like, slowly when you are developing your practice. Because the time was so less, so I was just trying to give something extremely simple, but believe me, this is extremely the saints have been doing this, the yogis have been doing this. This is their aspiration, that we breathe 21,600 times in one span of day and night. A yogi's aspiration is to become aware of every breath that he takes and leaves. So if you want to attain that, you have to.
One thing I just want to say is that when I do breath work, I find that my mind calms. And I mean, in our country, especially here, I mean, our minds are going a million miles an hour. And so to be able to do something that really calms you, that's so simple, I think that it's something you can do for free. It doesn't cost anything, and it's so simple. And yet we're not even aware of how the breath affects us. And it's the thing that we need most in life. We can't live without breath. We can live without water longer than we can, or food, than breath. But we don't, in our culture, we really don't focus on it. And I think it's really an amazing, it's just amazing that we don't. But thank you, Alka, for bringing this. And I'm just, one other question for sure that I have. I hope you guys don't mind that I'm asking all these questions, but I'm very curious. When I know, Mohan, when you had a very special experience with Alka, right? And we didn't really talk about that. When with a group, some special experience that you mentioned, and I really am dying to know. So tell us a little bit about this.
I'll quickly summarize that. So I think this is 2009, if I'm not wrong, or maybe 2008. I'm not very sure what exact year, but one of those years. So I was approached by a client who was bringing people from across the world, about 40 people, and they were actually coming here for meeting purposes, and they were actually going to be staying in one place for a week. And the client wanted many cultural connects for his guest to experience, and yoga was a very important thing for him. And he actually wrote to me and he said that I'd like to meet some yoga experts, because he's coming here to do a little reconnaissance trip. And I don't know if you know this, but one of your ex-clients, Biljana Petrovic, is the one who actually mentioned to me about Alka. And then I spoke to her, and there were a couple of yoga experts that I approached, including Alka. Trust me, when the moment she walked into the room where our friend Tom was, going to talk to these people, the moment she walked in, I felt that, well, this is the person. And actually it turned out eventually that he actually chose Alka. In fact, Alka was very instrumental in putting Tom into, he's an ex-Navy SEAL, and imagine he converting him to yogic practices, and he still practices. Alka, I don't know, you're still in touch with Tom, Alka?
He calls me often and he is a great yogi now. He has been to my ashram. He got initiated. He has a mantra and he's really gone, Sari, into very advanced pranayama practices. Like he's a changed person now. He believes in, yeah, psychic powers and everything. And I think he's experiencing a lot. He is experiencing a lot. He's changed. His diet, everything has changed, and gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I never thought that he would attain those heights. To be on the
Yeah.
serious side, like he's extremely good now into
Yeah.
these.
So
Yeah.
that's where that's how I, how you said, got connected with Alka. That's the first time we worked together. And if you remember, Sari, I told you about walking with the elephant on the last webinar we did. We walked 25 kilometers with the elephant from Samod to Dera Amer. In fact, that was Tom's idea. There was Tom, and there were a couple of his team members. There was Alka, there was me. We all walked together with the elephant 25 kilometers from Samod to Dera Amer, Jaipur. So yes, that's for the first experience. A great experience of working with Tom as well. We learned a lot. And there's Praveen also in the audience, and she'll always tell me that I was new, and you just put me into this pool to swim across from one end to the other. So yeah, there were great moments. I mean, one cannot forget. In fact, I have a film that we made on that entire experience. I'm absolutely happy to share with our guests to look at what exactly we did with those people. Yeah, so that was the experience. Yes, I mean, I could go on and on, but I think.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure I get it. And it's so funny because Biliana is the one who introduced us as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's amazing.
So,
But well, I just want to say, I mean, thank you to everybody for being here. Thank you so much, Mohan. Thank Alka. It's such a pleasure to meet you and to spend time with you. And I hope to meet you in India someday. I really hope so. And if you ever want to come here, we'll introduce you to people, and we hope that you get to come here someday too.
Can you
Thank
repeat
you.
the name of the ashram where you are?
It's called Bihar School of Yoga, Munger. And our spiritual head's name is Swami Satyananda Saraswati. I'll give it to Sari or Mohan Bhai. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank you all with deep depth of my heart. Thank you for giving me this
Thank you.
thank you.
sharing
Oh,
Namaskar.
thank you.
We'll
opportunity.
be in touch. Yeah, another day I'll call you and speak to you. Thank you very much for doing this for us. Thank you.